Really?
Logan League. Yeah.
Well, that ATC over there, Grant will have him in the ATC.
Oh, he spent a lot of time in there. I think he's going to miss the game today for it because he's going to stay over there and work out with Grant. So he's getting right.
Get that caloric intake out, but the muscle up.
Absolutely.
Jamaal Williams with us. So Rebels coming up at 4 o'clock. So let's get into, first of all, what the season has been to this point. Because, well, one, with all the injuries, it has put a challenge on you guys. And I talked to Kevin Kruger about this last week. Like, really, you guys have been challenged because you have to come up with the X's and O's for, it seems like a different group every 2 weeks.
Absolutely. I think we've made some adjustments offensively to try to focus on, sharing the ball around. It's not one person getting the ball late clock, trying to make more basketball plays for each other. And then also just kind of running actions and try to find ways to take advantage of the situations that we may have. Try to focus on getting Bear the ball more, get the ball moving side to side, and get down here and making plays for one another. And it's turned out pretty well for us. I thought that, obviously with Jude at New Mexico, like we were rolling at the beginning of that game until he got hurt, and then we kind of had to start scramble mode and try to patch it together. But over the last 5 games, I thought we've done a really good job of just playing together and making each other better.
I feel like because Julian Richmond went down, now there's there could be a lot of changes offensively. Like you don't have a lot of bodies, but maybe different focuses.
Absolutely. I think obviously getting the ball inside the Bear is going to be a focus, right? Getting him some early touches. And then, obviously Bedford's going to have to make some shots. Brooklyn's got to make some shots. Jay Hill might have to make a couple outside shots. Obviously, Henley to continue to play at the level that he's been playing over the last 5 games will be great. And so I think it's going to come back to just being a really tight unit and, hopefully Ice gets in the game and makes some shots, that we do it all as a unit and together. And if we're able to do that, I think we'd be okay.
We know Air Force's offense is a challenge. Their defense is actually very good, and it's a different look. When you watch big guys, like you'll see a big guy in there, and then not that this Air Force team is small, but generally you'll see a true big guy in there, and you're like, okay, he's a lot bigger than the Air Force roster. Why do they make it tough on, the real big guys, a 6'9", 250 guy who you would think, hey, he should be able to go for 20 and 10 against this defense? Why does Air Force make it tough?
I think they collapse. They do a good job of helping each other. They do a good job of taking away space, be able to allow you to get comfortable. One of the things for Bear going to have to do work tonight is work to get early post touches and deeper post touches to get closer to the rim and not pushed out. I think they stay in their pockets, right? They're really, really disciplined about what they do defensively, and they don't get stretched out too far out on the perimeter. So, they stay in situations where they try to take away the paint and try to make you take contested threes.
To me, Bear throughout the year, first of all, he's improved a lot in all facets. We can talk about his ball management on the doubles, but he's a fascinating study because of this. At the beginning of the year, he really wanted to set up what he was doing. And you watch him and you're like, okay, that's getting you into trouble sometimes and it's becoming predictable. I even talked to him about it. I said, hey, what do you learn by watching a guy who's undersized like Degenhardt, right? What I see in Degenhardt is 6'7", 250, but he gets the ball and he goes. Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot of moving around, drop steps, any of that. Has Bear gotten better at that? I think he is going quicker now and not needing the whole lead into it.
Absolutely. I think that's a part of it, right? One of the big adjustments to him jumping up to this level from the junior college ranks is that he's getting double teamed and it's coming faster, and he's kind of had a little anxiety early in the year of catching the ball and knowing that bodies are coming at him in hands and people are reaching and slapping at him. And, one of the things I always kind of get in conversation with the referees is like, hey, don't ref his size. You see how big he is. You allow people to take these free hacks at him and you don't penalize him. But then if he now becomes really aggressive, you're going to penalize him. You got to be a fair balance of that. But when we really focused on, even with our pre-practice stuff and our player development stuff and our pre-practice shooting times of, hey, catch deep and let's make a move. Find points of the floor where you're comfortable shooting shots. It's not about getting to the place you want to. Where are you comfortable taking a shot and making a shot? I think he's done a good job of adjusting to that and, finding points on the floor where he could be successful.
Jamaal Williams with us. When you played, did you find that it's a growing process with the officials to get respect? Like, did you get respect almost immediately, or were you kind of penalized for being a power guy?
Yeah, you had to grow. They had to grow, right? I walked in as a freshman and didn't have that level of respect. And over time, they start understanding how you play and the things you're going to do. And then you start getting the calls and people start slapping it. Well, that's something he normally gets to and makes. So you're going to get the early whistle on some of those things. So it's some balance that he has to go through in his growing pains. But, he's conquered it and he's trying to be, the best version of himself every single day. And he's working at it.
Well, I think he's gotten respect because it has changed.
Yes.
Because whether they're not flopping anymore or whether the opposition is not flopping or the refs are just like, stop flopping. Like they're not buying it anymore. I And I'll give the great example from the last couple of years. These are great post players, but I was always blown away by, well, I'll give you three guys. Jaden Ledee, great Osborne, and then at the highest level, Zach Edey.
Yeah.
Like, never really had fouls called. They averaged like 2.1 fouls a game, but there were games last year in the tournament where Ledee and Osborne were drawing like 13, 16, 18 fouls.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's going to get to that point, right? And I think that's, as he continues to develop and, puts people in position to use his size to get deeper post touches, he's going to be able to put people in situations where they have to slap at him because he is such a large guy. Like, I go in there, do the pre-practice and kind of be like the dummy defense. I'm like, I don't know what happens when he gets you on that hip. Like, what do you really have to do to try to stop that?
Yeah. And there's a reason I'm concentrating on Bear. You said it. I think that he has to be key today. You only have so many guys who can score. Now, Henley's been great. We can get to him in a second. I don't think Jalen Hill gets enough credit for what he's done this year coming off the ACL and the different roles he plays, because he is a guy who is playing point guard at times, bringing the ball up the floor, and then you guys turn around, and on the other end, you're like, oh, the 6'2 guard who's the best scorer, you cover. Like, what?
Yep. No, Jay Hill, one of the credit to him, his versatility, right? We were actually talking about this amongst each other as a staff. Like, he is so smart. His basketball IQ is, he knows stuff and he sees it and he can remember stuff from the day before on the board and be like, hey, you want to run it this way? You want to do it this way like we did yesterday? Like, he is always in tune to what's going on, and that allows him to have that versatility to be able to go guards because he knows the other team's offense and where that guy wants to go. Then also knows our stuff and where our guys need to be successful on the floor. And so his versatility has been great for us. And, he has to have a big game for us as well. If we're going to make some noise in this tournament, he's going to have to play really, really well. And you're right. People undervalue it, like that ACL and he was cleared the first day of practice. Like, it wasn't even a full year before he was, since he had torn his ACL. So to get back in there and then play with the level he's been playing at has been big time for him.
Let's get back to today's game, right? We've seen already in some of the mid majors, the top seeds fall in the championship game. How important is it to remind the guys today that even though you're a higher seed, you're expected to win, point spread's pretty high, let's not look past these guys. We can't underestimate anybody because at any given time, whether this is UNLV's house or not.
I think the situation, all right, the guys that are out not playing, I think that allows us to have to be able to focus, right? Like, we're not walking into it with a full group. We're walking with guys that are, stepping up in different roles and having to contribute that way. So I think that should automatically bring a level of focus that, like, hey, we need to do things right so that we can be successful today. And we can't overlook anybody, right? Every time we step on the floor and every opportunity we get, we got to be locked in and focused as a group of achieving the task at hand, and that's to try to get a win and, playing together.
Yeah, I don't think we can underestimate. We're talking to Jamaal Williams, assistant for the Rebels. They're playing at 4 o'clock against Air Force. I don't think we can underestimate the smarts on guys, because as the lineup changes and your numbers change, all of a sudden other dudes have to get bumped up. So they got to become quick studies. But even though you face Air Force twice, if those guys weren't paying attention when they were on the bench and in practice, during the previous scouts, now you got to get ramped up in a freaking 2 days.
Right, and we've been consistent with what we do against Air Force, and so hoping that information translates over. I thought we had a good week of prep the last couple of days of focusing on getting guys reps that normally don't get a lot of reps in the game, so that they be able to focus and know exactly what they're supposed to do. And there's going to be a lot of things that we can solve with communication. Right, we stick to our principles and communicate with one another. We should be okay.
Saw a story, little video story put out that changed things up just a little bit this week in terms of focusing on some conditioning, some stretching. Is that for a mental state? Is that to make sure that everyone stays healthy? Is a combination of things? What's the mindset there as far as switching a little things up?
A combination of everything, right? We already got 7, 8 bodies here. We don't need to drop another body, so we need to make sure we're, getting the reps on the floor and being cautious about what we're doing, but also making sure that we're doing things to try to keep them healthy, right? So we decided yesterday as staff, like, hey, we're going to do the stretching and dynamic stretching in the practice. The coaches got into it, so that was good because I needed the stretching from all the working out I've been doing. So that was great. But I think they just, try to make sure we got guys loose and limber and to kind of like, be engaged with them, like opportunity us to kind of not be coached and kind of just be around them and be amongst them and stretch and spread out amongst them and have conversation to kind of keep the atmosphere loose and lax so they'll be ready to play tonight so that they're not tense.
Is there a coach on the staff, and maybe it's you, is there the pep talk guy? Like, every time one of these major injuries happen, obviously it was a big one with DJ, where you got to get everyone's spirits up and go, hey, we're going to be good. Next man up.
Yeah, I think that's Coach Peary, right? That's his avenue. That's the whole team morale. We've been talking kind of what our theme for today is going to be, and he usually comes up with something that he puts on their locker to kind of go for the theme for that game. That try to get them pumped up and communicate that goal to them. But before the game, I think we just I take the bigs and I talk to the bigs and I get after them and let them know like we got to set the tone. And him and Coach Coop take the guards and the wings and they communicate, and we spend that time before the game kind of like giving them some juice and energy, right? So we'll be amped up today. I'll have some energy, right? That we got to get guys rolling, and the bench is going to be huge for feeding into the energy. I know some guys have to play some long minutes tonight, and so we're going to need all the energy we can get from each other to try to get this done.
All right, Coach. We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right,
couple hours before the game. Jamaal Williams, nice enough to come on with us. Coming up, we're going to hook up with CT as we're getting ready for a 4 o'clock tip with the Rebels.
Your home for everything sports. Follow ESPN Live.